Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Hump Day edition of The Yard. And yes, I'm recording this again in the wee hours because some of the things we're going to talk about are going to take place Wednesday morning. A lot to talk about for sure, as women's basketball is now in the SEC tournament. Men's basketball will go on the road and play Texas A&M, and there's a lot of baseball news. You know that the Diamond Dogs are in action in Pearl tonight in Trustmark Park before a bigger crowd than initially anticipated. We're going to break all that down for you today. It has been an incredible day in many respects in our state, and no matter where you come down on this, and a lot of it's based in politics, right? I mean, that's a lot of people's opinions about COVID protocols and things like that are kind of based on their political leanings. And so I am, for the most part, very apolitical. That's not to say that I don't have some political opinions, but I'm going to speak about this kind of from a no politics standpoint. Because what I'm concerned about is Mississippi State. This is a maroon state, and that is kind of what I base my feelings on. You didn't tune in today to hear me talk about presidential elections and that kind of stuff and national policy. I'm going to talk about what Governor Tate Reeves' most recent order. I'm going to talk about that today and kind of share with you what that means for you, what that means for Mississippi State baseball, what that means kind of going forward. Now, it is still a very scary undertaking, because a lot of people have done a pretty good job when it's come to social distancing. As you guys know, not everybody got football tickets, not everybody got baseball tickets the first weekend. But now here we are getting ready to go into the second weekend, and so Mike Ritchie and his group, and listen, I love Mike Ritchie, I do. Mike does a very thankless job for Mississippi State sometimes. He does a job that I don't know that most people could do that job. You can say, well, Steve, how difficult can it be? Well, the only times that people call Mike Ritchie is when they're upset about their tickets. I didn't get to sit where I wanted to be. I got moved. I'm not happy with my arrangement. I couldn't get all my tickets together, whatever. And so the problems he has to deal with are very complex at times, and the people on the other end of the deal are very emotionally charged because they're invested in Mississippi State athletics. And so it comes from a good place. It does. People want to be able to go participate and be a part of the game day experience and be part of the home field advantage for your Bulldogs. And so they want to be as close to the action as they can be. I would encourage you, if you want to be closer, dig a little deeper this year or next year for your Bulldog Club membership. But all of that said, I'm going to break down everything that I've learned. It has been one of those days where I've been on the phone all day. That 2:30 press conference took place with Tate Reeves, didn't get done until after 4 o'clock, and then I've been on the phone basically from 4 o'clock until around 8:30, trying to get you guys some information. I'm going to do my best to articulate what I have learned. I posted a lot of it on Gene's page, and I pushed it out to Twitter, pushed it out to Facebook, but I'm going to speak a little more in depth and just kind of share some things that I've learned, because I think it's important. When we have shows like these, it's not just about the top 10 list or recapping a ball game. There are times that you depend on this show to provide you guys with information that perhaps you can't get elsewhere. And so I take a lot of pride in being able to kind of foster some relationships, in the athletic department. There are a lot of people that I speak to on a regular basis that, I'd say, listen, kind of tell me off the record what's really going on here. I'm not going to credit you. I'm not going to, cite you. I just want to know, so I can communicate that to our fans, so our fans can kind of understand, what's taking place, why it's taking place, what's the thought process behind this. And so I'm going to share some of that with you today. And I don't know how long we go today. I don't know. You guys have been getting some bonus coverage from me here as of late. I don't know if we go that late today because I'm tired. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired. I feel like I say that every show. But it's one of those days like today when you're on the phone and then you think you've got a good idea about something. You call somebody else and then they kind of explain, well, it's not exactly like that. And so I went all the way to the top, and I talked to some people that are decision makers in this process. And so I'm going to share with you what I have learned. Before I get into that, I want to remind you, too, those folks at the ticket office are dealing with thousands of people. Thousands of people. It's not just you. I can assure you nothing is personal. Nobody in the Mississippi State Athletic Department or the ticket office want to inconvenience you any more than they have to. This has been an unprecedented time. It has required for some incredible patience on behalf of our fans, our administration, really everybody involved in all this. And so I just kind of share that with you. Please be patient with Mike Ritchie and his staff. They are doing the best job they can for all of you. They went to work immediately this evening to begin, kind of formulating, how they're going to roll these things out. And I want to make sure you guys understand this too, because I have seen some things again on social media. And it's one of the things I've said before. The best thing about social media is also the worst thing about social media is that everybody can use it. There are a lot of people that have strong opinions that don't have any facts. And so that's why I think that we need to take some time and talk about this and kind of break it down as best we can. And I know most of you, that's what you want. There is a small percentage, a very vocal minority, they just want to complain no matter the circumstances. And it's like that in everything. It's not, something that's unique to Mississippi State. We have some people that no matter what we do, what we say, what programs are put in place and protocols that are put in, that they're going to complain. And one of the biggest things that I've seen, that it's really disheartening. I mean, it really, really is. And maybe I shouldn't let it bother me as much as I do. But, about 2 days ago, the hope, not necessarily the expectation, but the hope was that Tate Reeves would issue an order that would allow us to take outdoor venue capacity from 25 to 50%. That was the hope. We didn't know that for sure. We were optimistic about it, but we didn't know for sure. But that was what we hoped. And everybody that I know that's involved with Mississippi State sports, whether it be from the fan standpoint, the athletic standpoint, or whatever, it was pretty much unanimous. Everybody's like, you know what, if we get that, if we can get to 50%, that's a step in the right direction. And the hope was, maybe we can get that done for SEC play. When we get ready to bring Arkansas in here, maybe we can then be at 50%. All right, that's still a few weeks away. And so now what's happened is this decision has been made now where there are no longer any restrictions on outdoor seating capacity. And that's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. And some people are going to say, you know what, Steve, I'm going to wait this thing out a little bit longer. Yes, I can get my tickets. Yes, I'm going to buy my tickets, but I may not go for a couple of weeks. I don't want to be a guinea pig. I want to wait and see what everybody else does. But we hoped to be at 50% by Arkansas. And now here we are getting ready for Tennessee Tech, and we are going to be substantially higher than 50%. And so we have exceeded our hope for this order, but yet that is still not enough. And again, I say I don't know that Mississippi State is the problem. I think there's some people that need to take a long look in the mirror and just kind of repeat the phrase over and over again, I am the problem. I am the problem. Those are the things that really, really bother me. It's like we expect 50% and we get more than we asked for. We get more than we bargained for. And then we still want to find some way to kind of twist that and make that a criticism of Dr. Keenum or John Cohen or Mississippi State University as a whole. And the thing that I've said many times, if you're unhappy, pulling for this team, then you need to go find another one. That's as simple as I can make it. And there's some people, it doesn't matter who we hire, who we fire, what we do, who we recruit, who we sign, what games we win, we always find a way to find, the one black cloud in a clear blue sky. And so, I'm going to speak, pretty frankly about that today because I think it's important that we, you kind of call it for what it is. If you were expecting 50% and we're going to be somewhere close to 80, 85, I guess, and that's a problem, then the problem's not with Mississippi State. I tell you a place you can get your problem solved, that's over at Bulldog Burger Company, because it's amazing what a good meal will do for you, right? I mean, a good meal will change your state of mind, it'll change your mood, it'll change the direction of your day, the course of your week. A lot of us, it's what we live to do. We live to be able to go eat and have a good time. You can do that at Bulldog Burger Company. Have the spring rolls. And I've had people that say, you know what, Steve, I never thought about getting the spring rolls. You mentioned it. We tried it. We love it. It is the best appetizer in Starkville proper, for sure. Go have yourself a great restaurant quality hamburger today at Bulldog Burger Company, part of a great family of restaurants that have served the Golden Triangle for many, many years. 2 locations now to serve you right here on University Drive in Stark, Vegas, and on Gloucester Street there in Tupelo. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. MEAT. All right, so let's get into it. I apologize for a little bit of a delay there, but let's get into kind of where we are. All right, so again, I mentioned we sat on that press conference for an hour and a half, and it seemed like it took forever for somebody to actually ask the question. I'm not on the state government beat, and apparently those guys and gals are not fans of college baseball, or it just wasn't in their minds. But listen, I understand we got more important issues to deal with than college baseball, but I jumped on that press conference trying to get some clarity on kind of how this is going to roll out, because about an hour before the press conference, we began to kind of get some word. You know what? It might be more than 50%. It might be a situation where Tate Reeves basically lifts the restrictions on outdoor venues and just kind of puts the burden of that decision back to the hands of the university, which is precisely what happened. Now, as the press conference is going on, I'm texting with some people at Mississippi State trying to kind of get some clarity, and everybody else is kind of like me. They're kind of waiting for him to kind of just say the words. And then somebody finally addressed it. And listen, I told the guy, owed him a beer, because I was just ready to get the press conference over with. But, I find it interesting that the very first weekend that State and Southern and Ole Miss all have a home weekend with limited capacity, that we've made this decision. I don't think that's a coincidence. I really don't. I was told about a week ago that, it's like, hey, State and Ole Miss fans went all the way out to Arlington, Texas to go watch their teams play, and they can't even do that in their home state. And it is a bad look. It really is. I mean, listen, you saw those crowds out there at Globe Life Field? You saw that. I mean, listen, they weren't capacity crowds, but they were much bigger than what we've seen here as of late. And so it's like, if we can do it in Texas, why can't we do it in Mississippi? And so I know there were a lot of people in the state legislature that were kind of lobbying to get the attendance capacity guideline changed. Heard that for sure. And so there has already been a plan, and this is where I was. I got a text and I had to stop and do that, and I lost my train of thought. But there was already a plan in place based on the contingencies. So if it was raised to 50%, then Mississippi State was going to do A. If it was raised beyond that, they were going to do B or C. I don't know that anybody until today fully expected it to be able to go back to 100%. And, of course, there are some news articles that get out there right away. Mississippi State, Ole Miss both going to beat 100% this weekend. And at this point, it was kind of unfair to print that, to be honest with you. And I'm not taking a shot at anybody, because Mississippi State and Ole Miss were still kind of, like all the rest of us, kind of trying to absorb all of this. And it's easy for you and I because, we just have ourselves to worry about. But, Keith Carter, John Cohen, those guys have got a lot of moving parts that they've got to do. They got to get on the phone, got to have some conversations with people and say, okay, here's what we want to do. How do we reseat the stadium? Do we put you guys back in your normal seats? What about the people that got moved to the upper deck because of social distancing? And so there were a lot of decisions made, anticipation of the 25%. And so, as you guys know, I guess it was the top 500 of Bulldog Club that made it. And so even those people, were somewhat inconvenienced. Yes, they're in the stadium, and you say, you know what, Steve, I would have done anything to be there anywhere just to be able to watch our guys play. And I get that. But there were a lot of people that were moved. And so now you've got to reseat the whole thing, right? And it wouldn't be fair to those people that, were in the top 500 that got moved up in the upper deck to stay there, and then you kind of seat beneath them with people whose contributions aren't as substantial. And so Mike Ritchie and his group, they got to work with the Bulldog Club and kind of make sure they have everything correct. And there were some people, too, that weren't given the ability to buy tickets, right, because of the fact they didn't meet the cutoff. And so now you got to get on the phone, or you got to get the emails out to people and say, okay, listen, hey, now that we're able to open this thing back up, you've got a chance to buy tickets. And there are going to be some people that say, you know what, I'm not going to buy them this year. Or is there going to be a prorated ticket price? How are we going to handle that? And those are decisions that I don't make. And those are things that, John Cohen and his crew have to kind of figure out. And they will. So let me kind of break it down as best I can, because this is what people really want to know. So all of the chairbacks are going to be sold. We've got about 4,400 of those. Every one of those is going to be sold. Simple as that. And the people that elect not to get them this year, well, then there'll be other people that will take them, because everybody wants chairbacks, right? Everybody. And so the full grandstand ticket area is going to be sold. Now, I've been going to ball games in that stadium for years and years and years. I mean, since we had the renovations, I've been to a lot of ball games, especially on Fridays, where the grandstand's kind of half empty because a lot of people go wander out to the lounge, or people can't make it in time for a Friday night game or whatever. And so there will be some people, of course, that'll put some pictures on Facebook and say, hey, look at this. I didn't get my grandstand tickets. And then here people aren't even coming to the games. Maybe you can get them on StubHub. I don't know what to tell you. But all of the grandstand tickets will be sold. There will be no social distancing in the seats. You will be required to wear a mask when you enter the venue and you move around the complex. That is a requirement. And that's an SEC rule. And to be honest with you, it's a good rule. And I understand there's a little bit of hypocrisy and all that too. I mean, I get it. It's like, well, I'm going to be sitting by these complete strangers kind of shoulder to shoulder, and then I got to get out and wear my mask so we can go to the restroom together. I get it. But it is what it is. The Omaha Club, that's going to be sold too. Now, it's a little tricky there too because you have the inside area, right? And you have the outside area. And you have to walk through the inside area to get to your exposed seats, your outdoor seats, right? And so because that portion of the stadium is indoors, it's still part of an indoor venue, right? And so it's a little tricky there. They're going to figure that out, how we're going to handle that. It'll be fine. But those tickets are going to be sold. Those Dugout Club tickets, those are going to be sold. Those are going to be sold as well. And so all of that premium seating is going to be sold. Go ahead and get ready for that. Because if you haven't gotten an email and you were a season ticket holder or somebody that signed up to buy season tickets and you paid your contribution and to give yourself the right to buy those tickets, you're going to hear from the ticket office. All right? Simple as that. In addition to that, we're going to see student tickets for this weekend go from 200, and then they ended up freeing some more tickets. I guess it ended up being closer to 300 last weekend because they had some no-shows and stuff. And so this week, I'm told it's going to be around 750. Somewhere between 700 and 800, but the guy I talked to said he's comfortable saying 750, around 750. So that's a pretty big increase. Now, is that what we normally do? No, it's not. By the time we get to play Arkansas, will it be what we normally do? Maybe. And a lot of it's going to be on how we handle it, students. Right? Let's understand that. We're kind of opening these things back up, and people are going to be able to come out here and go to these things. And I know many of you guys just kind of mill around in the outfield. But how we handle it's going to be important. If we get all 700 people and everybody piles upon each other and, we're just there for a beer bonanza, we might not see it go to 1,000 tickets. And that would be unfortunate because the people that want to get in there aren't able to get in there because people perhaps are, maybe not participating the way they should. Your rigs, you folks in the left field lounge, we've talked about this, and this was kind of the protocol when we expected it to go from 25 to 50. You're going to go from 4 people in the rigs to 8. And I know some people are already upset about that. Well, why can't we go more? If they're going to be able to do the full grandstand, why can't we do the whole lounge? I don't have a good answer for that, to be honest with you. I don't. I don't have a good answer for that. And I don't. Do I think it's going to stay this way? No, I don't. I think there are going to be steps that we take, to kind of get us there. And we got to handle it the right way, too. But the bottom line is we're going to have greater capacity out there in the lounge. And listen, I understand that is part of the ambiance and the charm of Dudy Noble Field is being able to have the grills going and that sort of stuff. And it's a party out there. I get it. And you want all your friends and you want your relatives. You want everybody around you, especially this time of year. Because we're a baseball school. We kind of mark the calendar by the beginning of college baseball season. We plan our vacations around the College World Series. I mean, that's kind of who we are. And so after all the things we've been through in the last year, I get it, man. It's like, listen, we're getting a chance to do this. I don't want to have to tell people that I love no, that I can't bring them in there. I want to be able to handle that thing. I want to be able to give those guys a ticket and have them in my rig. I understand it. And hopefully we'll get there this year. But we're not going to be there this weekend. And just like last weekend, we went through thinking, okay, well, this 25% thing, this is just kind of what we're going to have to deal with for probably a month or so. And then things have changed for us, and it's moving a little quickly. So we're getting more of what we want a little sooner than we anticipated. And I know it's not all that we want. It's not. But we're going to go from having, 2,400, 2,500 people, to probably having, 7 or 8. You're here pretty quick. Now, this weekend, there are probably some people that weren't planning to come to the ball game that may not come. There are other people that had other plans to say, you know what, forget that. I hadn't seen the Mississippi State play baseball in person since we were down in Biloxi last March. And you're going to come on up here. And we want you here. And that's one of the things that I think that sometimes people lose sight of. As a Starkville resident, I love it when you guys come to town. I do. It's like a family reunion. I love being able to walk out there on a lounge, sometimes take a day off from covering a ball game, and just to be able to walk out there and visit with everybody. Because there are many friends, the only time I see them is when you guys come to town for a ball game. Walk out there and I can go hang out with Hobie for a while, and I can walk over there and I can see Sammy Woolcutt and his group for a while. I can walk around and see all these other friends, and there's a lot of friends I hadn't met yet. And so when we get a chance to get together and put those maroon and white clothes on and go out there and kind of be united as a people, man, it reminds me why I'm alive. I mean, I don't do all this work just to pay bills, man. I mean, I enjoy being with you guys. I enjoy being out there and cheering for our kids and watching the Diamond Dogs do something amazing. That's the one thing we've always been able to kind of poke our chest out about is college baseball. And I know how badly you want to be a part of it. I know how badly you want to make memories with your family and your kids. You want to be able to bring everybody. And listen, I hope we have some record crowds this year too. But I want to be able to do it safely. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have strong opinions about this. I'm not going to make, any judgments on what anybody else thinks. Some people are saying, you know what, we need to be 100% right now. We need to go right back to it. I don't know if that's a responsible thing to do. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. And part of that too is, I think it's about there's some people out there that just will have more of a comfort level. So you know what, let's kind of bring this thing along a little bit slowly. Because what if we bring everybody back, and what if 2 weeks from now, which has been the magic number, right? Just wait for 2 weeks. What if 2 weeks from now we have a big spike, and then they can kind of tie that back to college baseball? Well, then what's going to happen? We're going to go right back to 25% at most. And so that's why I think, okay, maybe we roll this thing out in phases week to week. Maybe we just go week to week and say, listen, okay, we did it this week. Numbers are still good. People are still good. We didn't have major issues, so let's go a little further, okay? And then by the time we get to maybe the end of March, then maybe we're getting ready to get close to 100%. Maybe it's the middle of April. Maybe it's May. But you know what? By the time we're in the middle of the SEC race and we need 15,000 people here, my hope is that we'll be able to get them here. But I think there are some steps we have to take that to me, at least, I think it's logical to take a little time with this. And listen, there may be some other schools in the state may be totally different. But the fact that we're going from 25% to what we're going to have now after just 1 weekend, 1 week of college baseball, and there are many people that thought, you know what, I'm not even going to be able to get tickets this year. I'm not going to be able to get to see my dogs play, and I'm bummed about it. Well, how exciting is it now to realize, you know what, now I get to go. Now I get to go. The next part of this is general admission seating. You folks are probably the ones that are going to probably be inconvenienced the longest. And what I mean by that is we're going to take care of season ticket holders first. Now, and as harmful as that may be to some people, that's the right course of action. And that's not to say that we don't value those folks that can't afford to buy season tickets, or perhaps don't buy season tickets because they can't make the commitment to be here, and it's not financially feasible for them. And there are other people that say, you know what, I just want to be able to go up there when I can. Maybe when I get a day off and bring my kid to the ball game. I get it, I do. I've been there. Been there a lot. Long before I was a credentialed member of the media, long before I wrote books and had a show and that sort of stuff, I was just writing for Gene's page, and I was a fan like you guys, and I was bringing my kid up here every chance I got. And so we'd go right up there to the ticket office, we'd buy some tickets, and we'd go sit out there in the bleachers, and we'd feel great about life. And so I understand that feeling. Those people are eventually going to be accommodated. But before we can get to that, we got to make sure we get those people that are fully invested in Mississippi State baseball. And I don't say that in a disrespectful way. But before we start selling more tickets, we got to take care of those people that usually buy tickets. We got to start there first. And that's life. That's how things work. That's not to say that your money is not important. That's not to say that your allegiance to Mississippi State is not important. It absolutely is. But it is a much bigger undertaking to get the grandstand reseated and get all those people that have paid, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be able to get in premium seating. So those people are going to be taken care of first. And then we're going to have some general admission stuff. And then eventually that'll open up even more too. That's where a lot of this, where the growth is going to come, right in the second half of this deal, in the back end of this deal. It's going to come in those general admission tickets. It's going to come in those people that sit there at the drink rail and walk around and just have a good time, walk around the lounge or whatever. And so those tickets will be there eventually. There'll be some to start, and then if this thing takes hold and things are okay, then that'll get expanded a little bit. Same thing with your student tickets. As again I mentioned, we're going from around, I guess, 200 to 300 to 750. We handle that right, and there's no issues. We don't begin to see spikes among the student population that attended the ball games. Well, then the next week we'll probably go a little bit more. And I hate to put a time frame on it because I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the university. But every week that we get through this thing and we don't see negativity, right, then we'll begin to see more and more of these restrictions lifted. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to watch it for a while. And then as we get ready for SEC play, we go to LSU first and Arkansas comes here. That week is when some major decisions are going to be made, right? And so we've got a couple weeks here, I guess 2.5 weeks, where we'll have the new expanded capacity. And then if things go well, then we'll open up even more. That's as plain as I can say it. And so I think it's important, again, let everybody have a little patience with each other. It's going to be one of those things when maybe you and your neighbor had decided, well, I didn't get tickets this year, we'll just watch it around here. Then all of a sudden they get tickets because they're a little higher on the priority list, and they finally get back to you, and you're like, okay, well, now I can go. But I think it's important for everybody to understand that everybody's got a job to do, and everybody wants you there. Everybody involved, from John Cohen to Tanner Allen to Chris Lamonis to Steve Robertson to Dave Murray, everybody involved, the popcorn vendors, everybody, we want you in Dudy Noble Field. Nobody is being kept out purposely. Nobody is being pushed out. Nobody says, you know what, let's find a way. That guy down there in Buckatana, he always wears the dirty M/S cap. Let's keep him out this year. Nobody's having those conversations, man. We thrive with these big crowds. We love the big crowds. We love to be known for that. We love to set attendance records. We love all those things. And we want to be able to share that experience with you. And so that's going to take place. And it's one of those things, too, where it's like, we talked on Monday. I don't know what we're going to talk about on Wednesday's show. And here we are. It all happened so fast. And so, that's not to say the university was unprepared. And I know some people tried to suggest that. That's just not true. But it's kind of like the old Pascal programs. I'm speaking computer language. If, then, this is what we do. If this happens, this is what happens. And so there was already some contingency plans put in place. And so now those guys are working overtime. It's already Wednesday, right? It's already Wednesday. Can you imagine the job that ticket office is going to have to do between now and Thursday night? Just let that settle in for a second. Usually you have months and months and months to make your decisions about buying tickets. And if people want to be here this weekend, we got to turn this thing around here in basically 48 hours. It's incredible to think about that. And so they're going to have some long conversations and some long meals. And I know, listen, people are going to get an email and these are your options, and you just pick a button and then you're good to go. They automated a lot of that stuff. And so hopefully it goes pretty smooth. But it'll go a lot smoother if everybody just kind of understands we all want the same things. We do. We absolutely do. And I know that I speak on behalf of everybody here in Starkville that, our Starkville vendors have had a really rough stretch. Everybody has. But, we're a small town that kind of, we depend on the university. The veranda's closed. JCPenney's closed. And we've had a rough stretch. And so many of our local vendors and merchants, they depend on these ball game weekends. They depend on you to come up here because so many of you are so great. It's like rather than go and buy that Mississippi State shirt on Amazon, you'd rather come to town and buy it from one of our people. And I love you for that. I really do. Because I love these people. These people have become my friends. I've gotten to know so many of them, know their stories. And I've heard so many of them tell me, Steve, we're going to make it. But, Steve, we had to cut staff here. I wasn't able to do this year. We've all had to kind of tighten our belts a little bit. But when you guys come to town, if you can, please spend some money with our people. Please. Maybe don't stop in another community, and that's nothing against them, okay? They can have their Chamber of Commerce contact you. But maybe let's wait and get gas in Starkville. Maybe let's wait and get lunch in Starkville. Maybe let's wait and buy that new M over S shirt in Starkville. And so on behalf of our people in Starkville, I implore you and I beg of you, when you come up here this weekend, let's celebrate Mississippi State and let's celebrate Starkville. Send everybody home with some new Mississippi State gear. Buy some for yourself. Get some gifts. Kids have been good. Many of them have been cooped up a lot anyway. Hadn't had a chance to go watch the Diamond Dogs play, right? I mean, all those kids want to see Tanner Allen play. Well, let's go buy them a nice shirt. Let them get out there and watch it. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. There's just so many people that I know that are friends of mine that have really struggled. And I'm not going to belabor the point for very long, but I want to make sure some of these people are people that I have lunch with. These are people that I go over and I have dinner at their homes, and I've seen them lose their business, and I've seen them kind of battle depression and kind of go through some of these things. And I've seen some other people that I have known for a long time that, as my mama used to say, their color just isn't very good. You walk around and you can just see the weight of all this on top of them. And so my hope is that we will get a little joy from the weekend. And all of a sudden we begin to get some things back. And my hope is this is long-lived. I hope this is not a temporary deal for us. And I know you feel the same way. All right, let's get into today's top 10 list, brought to you by Dr. Robert Yarber. You guys know Doc. We've talked about him on the show before. Many of you struggle with ear, nose, and throat problems. You do, and some of you may not even know it. But you always have this congestion. You always have this pressure and this pain, this sinus stuff you deal with. And you always just kind of write it off and say, well, I'll just take a Zyrtec. And then you don't. Listen, stop trying to treat the problem on your own. Deal with a real doctor. That's Dr. Yarber. Robert Yarber, known him a long time, great guy, knows exactly what he's doing. Part of a great group of physicians, the ENT physicians of North Mississippi. Listen, they'll take care of you. There's 2 locations to serve you. Absolutely 2 great locations. If you're in Starkville, 910 Stark Road. You know right where that is, right? 910 Stark Road. Everybody knows where Stark Road is. It's by the movies. And then on Pegram Drive there in Tupelo, 618 Pegram Drive, 1 phone number. It's all you need. You don't have to go look it up. Here it is, 662-844-6513. Again, that's 662-844-6513. Dr. Robert Yarber of the ENT Physicians of North Mississippi. Going to be supporting our hospital too. So like when he's here, if he has to do a surgical procedure for a patient in Starkville, he's going to do it at OCH. And listen, that's our community hospital. So anything that helps the hospital is good for our community. And so, I hope you don't have to have surgery, but you know what? You might have to have a procedure to get this handled once and for all. Don't be scared of it. Reach out to Dr. Yarber today. All right, so today's top 10 list are the top 10 rap songs in the Mississippi State 2021 walk-up songs. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is a bit of a struggle for me because a lot of this stuff is newer stuff, and I don't listen to a lot of this. But let me tell you guys, too, and I know I'm going to get a lot of DMs about this, but I'm just going to say it. Listen, I listened to every one of the rap songs on this list. I listened to every rap song on the spreadsheet of every Mississippi State baseball player that picked a rap song. We did the rock stuff on Friday. We did the country stuff on Monday. There were a lot of rap songs and some that I was very unfamiliar with. But let me tell you guys this too, and you young folks especially. You're going to look back one day and you're going to say, man, how in the world did I like Migos? I mean, how did I like that? Oh my gosh, it's so bad. Oh, it is so bad. But I'm not going to sit here and be too judgmental. If you like them, you like them. But I'm telling you, you're going to look back one day and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you remember how silly that was? Oh, I can't believe I listened to that. I'm telling you. Listen, there are people from my generation that look back and say, I used to listen to Poison. I'm hating now, but you understand my point. You're going to look back at some point, and think, oh my gosh. So I didn't put any of those on the list. And what's that guy's name? Little Uzi Vert and and Future and those guys. I'm just not feeling it, man. There's no flow in it. This mumble rapping stuff is awful. It's awful. That's the thing I think about. I don't want to get too deep into this rap stuff, but that's the thing about when you had Big Daddy Kane and Kool Moe Dee and Eric B and Rakim, KRS-One. People had some flow. Houdini. It was different. People understood rhyming. They didn't have to do this stretch. It just didn't make any sense to me. But again, if you love it, you love it. I know many of you that don't like rock, and you have to kind of work through this. That's part of the show. But here's the top 10 rap songs, and some of these I really like. To be honest with you, some of them I was kind of unfamiliar with, and maybe I'd only heard as a walk-up, and I listened to them the whole way through, and I really dug them. Okay, so number 10 is "Riding on the Wall" by French Montana, featuring Post Malone. I think that's a pretty cool song. I can't remember which player's walk-up it was. But number 9 on the list, going back several years here, it's "Sugar Sugar" by Baby Bash. That's Tanner Leggett's walk-up song. We got Tanner almost hit a home run of the night, right? And so, hey, Tanner, thanks for bringing an oldie but a goodie back to us. Speaking of oldies but goodies, that's number 8. It's "Run This Town" with Jay-Z featuring Rihanna. That's Christian McLeod's song. Jay-Z is a lyrical genius. Absolutely lyrical genius. I love that mashup album he did with Linkin Park, and there's so many things even early in the catalog. But Jay-Z is an incredible lyricist. Like the 99 Problem song is to me is absolute gold. I love that song, and there's so many great rhymes in there. I love it. I absolutely love that song. But that's not the song today. It's "Run This Town." So Christian McLeod, your Friday night guy, you heard that a lot for him. Braylon Skinner, we have not had a chance to see him play yet. He's still on the shelf. Be back in a couple of weeks. But Braylon Skinner's song is "Good Life" by Kanye West. I'm not a big Kanye West fan, but I admit the song's pretty decent. Logan Tanner recently changed his. He had no option by Internet Money, and he scratched that and recently went with "Today Was a Good Day" by Ice Cube. I'm down with that, for sure. Anything from the NWA family is legit. So that's where we are with that. And listen, Logan, I think you need to stick with that. You had a pretty good weekend this weekend. Hit a couple balls absolutely incredibly hard. And so stick with Ice Cube. Kellum Clark, we've seen him hit one time, and his is So Bad from Eminem, another incredible lyricist and a guy that can rhyme just about anything. I saw him on a 60-minute interview teaching people how to rhyme with orange. It's crazy. But, he's on the next level. Xavier Lovett, and I probably could have gone higher with this one. Xavier Lovett's walk-up is "X Is Gonna Give It To You" by DMX. Love that song. And one of the things I loved about the DMX stuff is, I don't know who put together the backing tracks. I don't know who put together the beats, but the DMX stuff was always so loud and so great. It was so aggressive. I dug it. Number 3 on the list, and this is Brandon Smith's walk-up. We actually had a couple people that had this one, but Brandon Smith's, it's "Ooh Ah, My Life Be Like" by Grits. And of all the songs on here that I was unfamiliar with, that's the best of the bunch. That is without a doubt, of all this newer stuff. But I know that song's got some age on it. You're saying, well, Steve, it's not really a new song. It's new to me. Okay, I've heard it a few times, but it's relatively new to me. But of the ones that I was somewhat unfamiliar with, that's the best one. That's a really, really good song. Might even download some more Grits and check it out. Number 2, and he's already been on the list one time earlier when we did the list on Friday, but it's of my favorite walk-ups. It's Riley Self's "Me, Myself, and I" by G-Eazy. I'm a G-Eazy fan. I like Gerald. I like the work he did with Post Malone too. But number 1, and it's from the Georgia Peaches, "Outcast." I think this is on Stank On You. I can't remember. But it's Miss Jackson. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Scotty DeBrule's walk up. And I gotta know Scotty. I got to know the song. I got to know the story behind that. Why did you pick that? I love the song, but what's the significance? Why are you apologizing to Miss Jackson when you're getting ready to hit a baseball? And so I'm curious to know what I'm going to interview him, and I'm going to ask him. I interviewed him when he made the decision to transfer to Mississippi State. I haven't talked to him since then. But I got to know. I got to know what's the story behind the walk-up. I think those are some of the best baseball stories. I remember, speaking of walk-ups, and I won't chase this very long, I did the very first interview Jake Mangum ever did on the Mississippi State campus. I was the only person to request him. It was after the Vanderbilt game his freshman year when he had the big hit that drove in, I guess, a tying run. But and so I asked him, I say, what's the deal with the walk-up? I mean, the outfield, that song was released before you were even born. And so he told me the story that was his good friend Trace Levertich's walk-up song at Jackson Prep. And so, Trace quit playing. He retired from baseball. And so because Jake loved him so much and they were such good friends, he wanted to kind of share in the Mississippi State experience. And so he borrowed Trace Levertich's walk-up song, and it became part of Mississippi State baseball history. And so I love those stories. I love to know why people pick certain songs. Sometimes it's as simple as, well, I just kind of like the song. But sometimes it's a greater meaning. And so I like to ask that question and kind of get some more information. But there you go. It's your top 10 list for today. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let me know. Some of you have reached out and I haven't responded yet, and it's because I don't want to forget. Because if I see your message and I'm on the road or something, so I don't open it until I have a chance to look at it. I know there's one, I get hit up on Instagram, I get hit up on Twitter, on Facebook, email, text, skywriting, everything. For these top 10 lists. And a lot of people say, hey, Steve, you haven't done this one. And then I'll say, yes, I have. Here's the list. But if you have an idea, reach out and let me know. Top 10 list, again, brought to you by Dr. Robert Yarber. Listen, when you guys are in town, I talked a little while ago about local vendors. Listen, Campus Book Mart is a Starkvillian institution. I mean, it is. Stan the Man, one of my favorite people in town. And you know what? When Stan the Man's not out there doing the retail game, he's in left field lounge. It's not just a job for him, it's a passion. He loves to outfit Mississippi State fans and help you find that perfect gift for your family, for the Mississippi State fans and your family. Miss Kathy Brown, a great buyer, and a lovely, talented Susie kind of runs the whole show down there. You can go in and see her, and they'll be glad to see you. And expecting big crowds this weekend, so I'm sure they're going to be busy. And maybe you don't want to go by and deal with that on a weekend. Maybe game day is not a good shopping day for you. Visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll save you a little money. The phrase that pays is BSR, promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. And that gets you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. Again, that's BSR, campusbookmart.net. Let's talk a little bit about USM baseball. We are going to play them, so we got the ticket stuff handled. Let's get ready to go play a game, right? Mississippi State all-time 83-42 against Southern Miss. We have not played the Golden Eagles since 2019. Of course, we generally play them at least once a year. We used to go down there and play them at Pete Taylor Park. And when I was a kid, we used to go over from Columbia and go watch them play in Hattiesburg. And we're happy they came down there so we could see them. Because, when I was a kid, and I'm sure it's like this today, those guys are my heroes. It's like, it was like the New York Yankees coming to my hometown. We had a chance to go there and watch Mississippi State play. Because when you lived in South Mississippi, you're inundated all the time with the Southern Miss stuff. And I wasn't a Southern Miss fan. And so I loved being able to go watch our guys play and then beat up my neighbor's favorite team. Loved it. Thought it was great. But we're 83-42 overall. We've had some memorable moments in the rivalry. You remember several years ago, Ron Polk was nearly arrested after being ejected from a ball game down there. And then, Lane Burroughs left Southern Miss to come to Mississippi State. And there were some choice words, for Lane and his family when we went back down there. And you remember the fiasco with the baseball regional, right? Remember that? Back in 17? We ended up going on the road down there, and that's not to say Southern Miss didn't deserve the regional, but I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When these smaller G5 teams win the right to host, if they don't have a facility that can accommodate the big crowds, they need to move it. They could have played that thing at Pearl or whatever, but, just like with the Louisiana Lafayette thing, it was ridiculous what our fans had to go through to get tickets. It makes no sense whatsoever. But Southern Miss off to I won't say a great start because it's not. They're 4-3 on the year. They take 2 out of 3 from Northwestern State to begin the year. And then they lose to South Alabama down in Mobile. And then this past weekend they had the big 3-game series with Connecticut. They take 2 out of 3 there. And all those games are competitive. It's a one-run game on Friday and Saturday, and then Southern Miss loses 10-7 on Sunday. But again, a good win for them. They've won both series, and again, 4-3. Not a great record, but listen, it's such a small sample size. I don't know if we can make any determinations at this point about the Golden Eagles. But we know that they're going to bring their best effort because we understand, and I say this with as much respect as I can possibly muster, it is not a big deal for us to beat them. It is a big deal for them to beat us. And we know this, so we know we're going to get their best shot. Looking at their numbers here, they've got one guy hitting over 300. That's Christopher Sargent. He started and played in 7 games, 25 at-bats, has 8 hits, 3 doubles, a couple of home runs. And Southern Miss has hit a few big flies this year as a team. 9 home runs. They've given up 8. But team batting average of just 191. So they're not exactly putting the ball in play. And everybody says, you know what, Hidden's always behind pitching this time of year. I don't know if it's always the case, but they have not done a great job hitting the baseball. As a matter of fact, only 4 players on the roster are hitting above 200. So, we got a chance to go in there and pitch this thing well. Houston Harding, of course, is going to get the start for Mississippi State. I haven't seen Southern Miss's announcement for a starter, but I expect it'll be a Johnny Holstaff type deal. But, I'm excited about the game. I know you guys are as well. The only appearance Mississippi State's going to make in Pearl this year, and we'll see how that goes, But I like when they go on the road. I like it when they go to Biloxi. We're not this year, but probably we'll do that. Ordinarily we would probably do that when we're coupled up with LSU down there. We have an opportunity to play maybe a Southeastern or Louisiana Lafayette down in Biloxi, and then scoot over to Baton Rouge and and play a series down there. And of course we're headed to LSU this year, but maybe we just couldn't pull it together. The SEC schedule for the most part was what it was last year. And so we're going to head down there. Probably just couldn't pull it together in time this year. But I know they had a great time in Biloxi last year. I know everybody was excited about that, about going down there and playing at MGM Park. And so many fans down there turned out and had a great time watching the Bulldogs beat Texas Tech. But glad we're on the road again to give the Central Mississippi folks a chance to come see the Bulldogs on a school night. But, this Southern Miss team, it's difficult to tell what to make of them. It doesn't look like they're an offensive juggernaut, not at least at this point. We'll see how things break down. But listen, this is going to be a team that is really going to challenge in their league. And so could be a big win for us when we begin to look at RPI down the stretch. We need to get a win here and then let them kind of go to work for us, if you know what I'm saying. We need them to get hot and kind of win their league, and that'll make us look that much better. And so I'm okay with playing Southern Miss. I'm glad we don't play them in Hattiesburg anymore because it seems like every time we go down there's drama. Every single time. That's the way it seems. And so we'll play them in Pearl or we'll play them in Biloxi and we'll have a good time with it and we'll kind of move on with life. But looking forward. And for those of you that were unaware, many of you couldn't get tickets. Well, now that the governor's order has been extended, they put some more tickets on sale today. I am sure they've been gobbled up by now. But should be a great crowd for baseball at Trustmark Park in Pearl. Get there early. Parking sometimes can be a real chore there. Let me encourage you to get out and get on the road as early as you can and go cheer the Bulldogs on to victory. And then we'll be right back into town on Friday ready to play Tennessee Tech. And, again, eager to see what those crowds look like. But, again, we want you here, and we love how much you guys support the Bulldogs on the road. That's one of the things that nobody can ever take away from our Mississippi State family is that, especially when the Bulldogs are on the road in baseball, we turn out. Doesn't matter where we are. I remember last year watching Mississippi State play Long Beach State on the stream, right? And then there's a handful of Mississippi State fans right there behind the plate, cheering for our guys. And I always think to myself, man, I wish I could get a hold of those people and buy them a drink or something, or let me buy lunch for them because I'm so grateful that our team has some of our fans there sporting our team colors and cheering for them, even as far away as California, man. You guys are awesome, absolutely awesome. And I know that our players and especially our players' parents appreciate your support. That's one of the things, all these travels I've made with college baseball here the last few years, is you get to know these baseball parents, and there's a lot of times they can't go. They try to go to every game, but sometimes they just can't make it. And it means a lot to them that their extended family in the Bulldog family is there to cheer for them when their parents can't be. It is a really cool thing. If you're thinking of making the move to Starkville, look no further than our friends at Portico. Portico is a brand new residential complex that, listen, houses are going fast. I mean, Brooks has kind of kept me up to date on things, and I'd share with you guys here recently, 18 houses in the first phase, 12 of them are already gone, and I understand there's another deal pending, or about to be. There's another house there's about to be an offer made on, and so if you're going to wait around, you might be left out of this first phase, and I would encourage you to go ahead and jump in. Many of you have been on the fence and said, you know what, Steve, I don't know if this is the time to do it. No, it's the time to do it. I hear it from you guys all the time. It's like, man, I need to get a place in Starkville, or I need to move to Starkville. I need to work in the Golden Triangle. I want to be close. When I get off work, I can run up there to go to the ball game. Well, you know, Portico is 1.1 miles from campus. You can go home, put on a maroon shirt, freshen up yourself, and then get to the ballpark in time for dinner. It's a great way to do it, man. Portico is right there off Garrett Road behind the Chrysler Jeep dealership. You guys are familiar with that. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you get off 82, boom, you're right there. You're right there. I mean, it's so easy access to both 82 and 25. You can't beat it. You don't have to get out and go fight that traffic. And you know what? You're on that new Walmart side of town, right? So if you don't have to go to the big Walmart, you can just run out there to the neighborhood market and go get some stuff. There's a lot of good reasons to pick Portico as your next move. If you need more information, and I would encourage you to reach out to my friend Brooks Bryan. He's my friend, your friend. He's everybody's friend. Robbed a home run to send us to Omaha. He's my friend for life. For life. Just for that moment, Brooks. Just for that moment. Just for what he did for us. But no, seriously, Brooks is a great guy, great businessman. Wants to help you guys make Starkville more of a permanent part of your life. Give Brooks a call. He can tell you all about these homes, 2,000 square foot homes. And listen, for every size family, for every need, he can get you taken care of. From 2-bedroom, 2-bath, up to 4-bedroom, 4-bath. 601-416-8075. Again, that's 601-416-8075. Brooks Bryan, former Diamond Dog. Let's talk a little basketball if we can. So Mississippi State getting ready to go play Texas A&M. Now, I don't know if you know this. I would say most of our casual fans probably don't know this, and some of you may have even checked that on basketball. Texas A&M has not played in over a month. They have not played a game in over a month. And just when they started getting healthy and kind of getting the COVID stuff behind them, the snowstorm hit. Record snowstorm. And so those games got canceled too. Rather than try to explain it in my own words, I pulled up the transcript of Buzz Williams' press conference from earlier this week. And I want to read to you what he said, because I think it's important to kind of hear it from his perspective. He had his press conference a couple days, I guess it was on Monday. Today is March 1st, and we're praying March is a better month than February for our program. The only time we practiced with every player last month was on February 1st. It was a Monday. That was following our victory at Kansas State. The rest of the month, we only had 8 practices and did not have a full squad. We're practicing today. Think about that. 1 practice with the full squad in a month. I like the idea of having bowl-like practices, but Coach Fisher probably knows more about what goes into that than I would, talking about Jimbo. The virus doesn't discriminate against age, so we couldn't split up into old and young guys in some of our practices. We only had 4 players. It was unique. 4 players at times. What can I say? So far, so good. There are still tests that need to be completed regarding the virus, and depending on those, we'll have a decision on Wednesday's game. We have it now. We'll be able to practice today because everybody's test yesterday came back negative. We had an early bird today. I'm saying my prayers, and I'm not saying they're potent, but I'm hoping they're heard. Our kids are all different. With every kid, they're at a different stage emotionally and physically. We're all trying to process what is going on if this has never happened before. That's not being negative towards anybody in our program. There's no playbook on what to do if this occurs. When you miss 7 games because of COVID-19, another game because of the worst snowstorm in the history of Texas, and all those 8 cancellations come within 28 days, it's tough. I seek discernment on how I can treat and help these guys every day, even though they're all in different places. Finding the right thing to help them as a group has been difficult. I've always thought that when things are bad, you should be aggressive. When things are good, you should be aggressive. I don't know if aggressive is the right approach right now, because there's been so much instability in the last 11 months. It's created so many non-rhythm and non-routine experiences. Your emotional level changes as a result, and I don't know if I've done a good job. I don't know if that's fair. I think, as he mentioned, it's an unprecedented time. But I'll say this. The fact that they have had the challenges that they have had, they're going to be rusty. We got to go win the ball game. Okay, now I know they're going to be happy to be back on the floor, and they're going to be pumped up, and there's going to be a lot of jubilation and finally being back. Not that we're a well-oiled machine, but we've been able to practice. We've been able to play. And so we got to go down there and find a way to win this basketball game. And listen, I'm not going to go sit here and just, put a lot of pressure on the basketball team. But, if you just look at this thing on paper and you take the emotional aspect out of it, the fact that they have not been able to have full practices, they've not been able to play, there's no reason they should win this basketball game. And you can say, well, Steve, you're going to jinx us. Well, I don't believe in any jinxes, okay? But if they haven't played in a month, they haven't practiced as a squad, as a full squad in a month, and we ought to be able to go out there and get in their legs a little bit, I would think. They ought to have fresh legs, but they're not going to be in shape. It's a different deal. There's a difference thing, being in game shape and in being in practice shape. It's a different deal. There's a level of intensity and emotion that comes with being with games, and you really kind of stress yourself a little bit more. If you hadn't done that in a while, if you haven't exerted yourself, to your full capacity, mentally and physically and emotionally in a while, I could see them getting gassed a little bit. And so this is a good situation for Mississippi State, probably one of the more winnable games that we've had on the road in a long time. And listen, nothing but our basketball team ever surprises me. And they're not going to surprise me, good, bad, or indifferent, because I've learned to expect the unexpected with this group. But I would expect us to be able to go down there and handle business. Now, Buzz Williams has found a way to kind of keep Ben Howland at bay a lot of times. His press has given us a lot of trouble. And so I am sure they're going to go with that a lot. I suspect that they'll probably just keep coming at us in waves as best they can, just to kind of keep some fresh legs on the floor. But you're going to be who you are. You're not going to reinvent the wheel just because of the fact that you hadn't played. And, maybe that's one of the things, too. They hadn't played so much. Maybe they've been able to put some new wrinkles in. We don't have any recent film to see how they're running their sets and things like that. But, it kind of is what it is. But, if I'm Ben Howland, I'm thinking, we got to find a way to win this game. And the fact that they're vulnerable should make it that much easier for us. And then, listen, it's tough to go on the road and win in the SEC, but I can't ever remember a time, in my lifetime when you have had a situation like this where your opponent has not been on the court in a month, may feel like a year, just doesn't make a lot of sense. But we're going to have to try to find a way to win the ball game. It's a senior night deal down there. Emotions are going to be high, as well they should be. But it's just incredible to think about, I cannot begin to imagine as a coach, week after week after week, saying, okay, we're going to play this week, we're going to play, and then your game's canceled. Your game's postponed. Your game's canceled. And then, okay, well, let's move on to the next opponent, and then it's canceled. Then you have to pause practices. Then you've got to go out there and practice with, student managers and people like that just to be able to put some type of scrimmage situation together. Buzz Williams and his group on the men's side have probably had more to deal with than anybody. It's crazy to think about the challenges they've had there. And so we need to be able to take advantage. It's nothing personal, Buzz, but, we're trying to salvage something out of this season ourselves. Looking at their numbers here real quickly before we move along here, looking at the individual statistics here, Emmanuel Miller's their guy. He absolutely is. It's one of those guys you look at and you get excited about. And, 14.8 points a game. He's the only guy that's scoring in double figures, but it's pretty balanced behind him. Quentin Jackson's the guy that's just under 10. Andre Gordon right there as well. J.J. Chandler, 8-4. Savion Flagg. They've got some guys that can get out and play a little bit. They got some athletes, for sure. And they tend to give us some trouble, right? We've been through this before many times with them, and especially since Buzz has been there. they find a way to kind of get out and run a little bit and try to get some buckets in transition. And listen, we played these guys at our place. It seems like forever ago, back on January 13th, and we lose the ball game 56-55. We blew it. Had a chance to win it late, and we blew it. And if you're Ben Howland, you shouldn't have to say anything else. It's like, you know what? We were a better team than them. We had them on our home floor. We blew it. We get a chance to go pay it back. You go win this ball game, and then we'll see what happens on Wednesday against Auburn. And then we get into the SEC tournament. John Cohen was quoted on the radio earlier this week as saying that both of our basketball coaches will be back. That should not be a surprise to anybody that has listened to the show. Nikki McCray-Penson will be back for another year. We're going to talk about the women here shortly. Ben Howland will be back for another year. And then we'll see what happens. And, at the beginning of the year, I think that was kind of the thought process is, how would you fire somebody in a COVID year? Well, in football, we had a bunch, right? I don't know if we have as many in men's basketball. I just it's especially when you look at how small the roster sizes are and the stresses that have been put on these programs. I could see some grace this year. So Ben Howland back. John Cohen now on the record publicly saying Ben Howland will be back next year. Mississippi State women are in action this morning as they begin the SEC tournament. You guys should be very familiar with that. We're usually not playing on this day. We're not used to that. That's something that we have not done in a long time. And so it's just part of the deal, right? So we're going to play them Thursday in Greenville, South Carolina. We'll play LSU. And again, we're not used to playing on that day. We're usually getting that double bye and having to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday and get on out of there. But we're going to play LSU, and then if we win that, we'll get 22-1 Texas A&M. But State played LSU pretty well here recently. We went down to Baton Rouge. Matter of fact, that was our last victory back on Thursday, February 25th. We got down there and beat them 68-59. You remember it was really a game at the half, and then Nikki McCray-Penson's group kind of took over in the second half. LSU, I guess, was up, just a handful there. I guess 7 points or so there at the break, and then we destroyed them in the third quarter, 25-8. Aliyah Matharu had a big game against them, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. They'll be definitely picking her up. And we were only 5 of 17 as a team from three that night, and so it's not like we just had a great game from the perimeter. I think it's important to understand, too, and I kind of touched on this in the last show. Had some more discussions with people. It's one of those things I've learned about this is once you broach the subject and people realize maybe you have a little bit of knowledge, people want to give you a few more details. I mentioned on the last show we had some problems, within the team last year. And then, you had a veteran guy like, Vic Schaefer here. And so Vic can kind of handle that. And that's not to say that Nikki can't, but, Vic is a guy that's been a head coach and has an established pedigree at Mississippi State. And so there's an expectation, there's a staff here, there are players that are bought in, and so all of a sudden when you have a bad actor come in, some of the players kind of begin to police themselves a little bit. Well, then when you change coaches, you've got a little bit of a culture shift. Now all of a sudden, we don't have to do the same drills. We don't have to get out and go do that. And one of the things that I've heard is that, when Vic Schaefer, when Vic was unhappy with the team, we would just run all day. We'd get out there and we'd run Bulldog and we'd play this and we'd run drills. And they ran until Vic got tired of watching them run. And it's been a little different with Nikki. And, and maybe she should consider running them a little bit more. But so she inherited some of those issues. And I'm not going to sit here and, defend Nikki McCray-Penson. I don't think she needs it. But, the reality of it is that some of the problems that you guys have seen and have heard about are things that were, that kind of began to manifest last year. And then we had the coaching change. And so it's kind of it's bubbled over a little more now. Because you have a staff that comes in that doesn't know these players, doesn't have a relationship with them. And listen, part of coaching is learning what motivates each player. And you can't motivate them all the same way. I know when I coached high school baseball, with my kid, if I ever got on him, he was going to shut down on me. But if I went out there and gave him some positive praise and say, this is what I want from you, good job on this, so he's going to do everything he can to impress me. I had some other kids out there, if I ever gave them praise, it was like, well, what did Nick Saban call it? Rat poison or whatever. If I ever praised some of those kids, they would let up. And so it's the same thing with Nikki McRae-Penson. She's kind of figuring out, okay, this is the currency for this player. And again, as I've said on the show before, when you have to recruit your roster to stay once you get here, and now all of a sudden I got to take my recruiter hat off and go be the coach, sometimes it's a difficult transition, and that had to happen in a very short time. And so one of the things that I've heard about practices is she spends a lot of time teaching, a lot of time player development. Vic emphasized conditioning. Vic emphasized defense. And every coach does it a little bit different. Now, you may recall, too, Vic didn't have a great year the first year. He also started from much farther back, right? He didn't inherit the same level of talent that Nikki McRae-Penson did. And so, she has in many ways kind of become a victim of his success because we played at such a high level, we began to recruit players that ordinarily we had never had a shot at. And so they come in with a different dynamic. It's one thing when you have players that come in that, it's like, hey, I'm happy to be here. And then other players are like, you know what, I had 50 different offers, and you're lucky that I'm here. You're lucky that I picked you. And there is some of that. There is some of that exists. And so either you have to coach it out of them or you've got to remove them from the team. And I share with you guys, and my cell phone lit up after the show aired on Monday, you're going to have some players leave. And it's going to be for the betterment of the program. Some of it will be our choice. Some of it will be their choice. But you're going to have some players leave. You might as well go ahead and get ready for that. That won't stop the big freak out. We'll have the big Facebook freakouts, right? That's what always happens. Anytime something happens or somebody leaves, we automatically assume, that we did something wrong as a program or we did something wrong as a university. We have a segment of our fan base that finds a way to blame Mississippi State first, no matter what the circumstances are. But I think it's important to understand that, you got to give the coach an opportunity to kind of manage a roster. All of a sudden, if Dr. Keenum's office or John Cohen step in and say, hey, Nikki, now we can't run this player off, well, then you just cut her legs off from under her. Because nobody else on the team is going to respect her after that. Because then all they got to do is go run back and talk to Dr. Keenum or John Cohen and get what they want. Well, I can assure you that's not going to happen with John Cohen or Dr. Keenum. But you understand my point, is you got to give her the ability to have some autonomy to manage her team. And so, we'll see what happens next year. But, it'd be nice for us to find a way to, win a couple games here in the postseason. Maybe we can beat LSU and get in the tournament. And you just never know. When you get in those pods, you never know. You just simply never know how people are going to react. And I think a lot of this, too, when we get in the losing streak, you begin to ask yourself, man, are we ever going to win again? What if we get to the tournament? What if we don't make it? What if on my watch this great run with Mississippi State ends while I'm here? When I look at the players that have come before me and the tradition that they've built and the winning culture they've built, and then I'm here when it's my turn to carry the torch, I drop it. There's a lot of pressure involved in all that. And so it could be a situation that you get in the tournament, and maybe you win a couple of ball games. Maybe you get back to Sweet 16. Who knows? You just got to get there first. And then we'll see what the matchups look like. But, we'll see what happens on Thursday. But, I'm ready to get basketball season in the books. And it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm ready to focus all of my energy on baseball. But number two, it has been such a long and frustrating year for our fans, and I know it has been for our players and coaches. I'm not trying to diminish their sacrifice in any way. But, when you have the dashed expectations, and then it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's like every time you turn around, there's a new disappointment, there's a new issue, there's always something. And so it just kind of wears you down after a while. And I think we're going to be really good in baseball. And so I'd like to be able to get basketball in the books and then us be able to kind of celebrate and kind of end this academic year on a high note with what I believe could be a very special baseball team. We have struggled through football season, didn't know if we were going to have football season, had baseball season canceled last year. The NCAA tournament was canceled. We had a great women's team last year. I had a chance to go do some cool things. That was taken away from us. And then we finally get football back, and it's not what we expect it to be. It's the SEC schedule, the 10-game schedule. And we knew when that 10-game schedule came out, chances of us putting together a winning season was pretty slim. Then we beat LSU, and we think, hey, man, all things are possible. And then we win 3 regular season games. And so we've been beaten down for a while. You know what I'm saying? We've just been kind of beaten down. And so, all hope springs eternal. So it's like we can get to baseball and end the year on a winning note and begin to kind of feel good and say, you know what? Now we get ready to look ahead to football season again. Maybe we can get back to some normalcy. I mean, you've seen the articles. Greg Burns from Alabama and many other schools are saying, you know what, we expect to go back to 100% in-person classes next year and to have full stadiums. And, that excites people. And so you begin to think, just maybe we're on the back end of this thing, and maybe sometime here in the next few months that we can have this thing behind us. That's the hope anyway. Well, that's going to do it for today. And again, many of you reach out from time to time and say, Steve, what's the website to get books? It's alphadogsthebook.com. Go check it out today. You can get personalized copies of Flim Flam, Stark Villains, and Alpha Dogs right there, all in one place. All right, whatever you want to on them. And many of you have gone out and bought them at bookstores, and you say, hey, Steve, next time I see you, I'd like to have you personalize this or sign this. Well, you can save yourself a lot of time and effort by ordering directly from the website itself. Not that I don't want you to represent our vendors and solicit them, but if you need something personalized, your best option is to go to alphadogsthebook.com. And if you're looking for Stark Villains gear, and you should be, go to starkvillains.com, and you can order T-shirts and hoodies right there. Thank those guys so much for all they do for me. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.